Mystical City of God, Book 2, Chapter 4, on the perfection with which Most Holy Mary observed the ceremonies of the temple and what was ordained for her there. Returning now to continue our divine history. After the Most Holy Child consecrated the temple by her presence and residence there, she began to grow in every proper sense in wisdom and grace before God and man. The understanding that has been given to me of what the Almighty's powerful hand was accomplishing in the Princess of Heaven during those years places me as though on the shore of a vast and boundless sea, leaving me astonished and uncertain as to where I might begin to enter so immense an ocean, and speak rightly, since it is unavoidable that much will be left unsaid, and it is difficult to do justice even to a little. Therefore, I will say only what the Most High once revealed to me on this matter, speaking to me in these words. The works accomplished in the temple by the one who was to be the mother of the incarnate Word were in all ways most perfect. To comprehend them exceeds the capacity of any human or angelic creature. The acts of her interior virtues were so numerous and of such exalted merit and fervor that they surpassed all those of the seraphim. And you, soul, will come to know of them far more than what your words and tongue could ever express. But it is my will that, during your pilgrimage in the mortal body, you take Most Holy Mary as the beginning of your joy, and follow her through the desert of renunciation and denial of all that is human and visible. Follow her through perfect imitation, according to your strength and the light you receive. She shall be your guiding star and teacher, and she will make my will known to you. In her you will find my most holy law written by the power of my arm, on which you shall meditate day and night. She will be the one who, through her intercession, will strike the rock, cf. Numbers 20 verse 11, of Christ's humanity, so that in that desert the waters of divine grace and light may flow to you, quenching your thirst, enlightening your mind, and inflaming your will. She will be a pillar of fire, cf. X 13:21, to give you light, and a cloud to provide shade and refreshment under her protection from the heat of the passions and the assaults of your enemies. In her you will have an angel to guide you, cf. X 23:20, keeping you far from the dangers of Babylon and Sodom, so that my chastisement may not reach you. You will have a mother to love you, a friend to console you, a lady to command you, a protector to shield you, and a queen whom you shall serve and obey as her handmaid. In the virtues that this mother of my only begotten practiced in the temple, you will find a universal rule of supreme perfection by which to govern your life, a spotless mirror reflecting the living image of the incarnate Word, a flawless copy of all his holiness, the beauty of virginity, the charm of humility, the readiness of devotion and obedience, the firmness of faith, the certainty of hope, the fire of charity, and a most abundant map of all the wonders of my right hand. By this measure you are to regulate your life, and by this mirror I want you to compose and adorn it, increasing your beauty and grace, as a bride preparing to enter the bridal chamber of her spouse and Lord. And if the nobility and dignity of a teacher serve to encourage the disciple and make her doctrine more lovable, who could draw you more powerfully than the very teacher who is the mother of your spouse, chosen for her purity and holiness, and without stain of sin, to be both virgin and mother of the only begotten of the eternal Father, and the radiance of his divinity in his very substance. Listen, then, to such a sovereign teacher. Follow her through imitation, and meditate always, without ceasing, on her admirable virtues and excellences. And note well, the life and conduct she practiced in the temple is the model that all souls consecrated to Christ as his spouses must imitate and copy in themselves. This is the understanding and doctrine that the Most High gave me regarding the general actions that Most Holy Mary, during the years she lived in the temple. But now descending to more particular details of her occupations. After the vision of the divinity mentioned in chapter 2, and after having offered herself entirely to the Lord, and given all she had to her teacher, remaining absolutely poor and resigned into the hands of obedience, concealing beneath the veil of these virtues the treasures of wisdom and grace in which she surpassed even the highest seraphim and angels, she humbly asked the priests and her teacher to assign her the way of life and tasks in which she was to work. Having conferred together with a special light given to them, and wishing for the time being to tailor the exercises of the divine child to her age of 3 years, the priest and her teacher Anna summoned her into their presence. The Princess of Heaven knelt to hear them, and although they ordered her to stand, she asked with utmost modesty for permission to remain kneeling before the minister and priest of the Most High, and before her own teacher, out of reverence for their office and dignity. The priest spoke to her and said, "Daughter, the Lord has brought you to his house and holy temple at a very young age. Be grateful for this favor, and strive to make the most of it by working diligently to serve him in truth and with a perfect heart, learning all the virtues, so that when you leave this sacred place, you may be prepared and fortified to endure the trials of the world and defend yourself from its dangers. Obey your teacher Anna, and begin early to bear the gentle yoke of virtue." Lamb 3:27, that it may be easier for you throughout the rest of your life. The sovereign child responded, "You, my lord, as priest and minister of the Most High, who stand in his place, and my teacher as well, will command me and teach me what I ought to do so that I do not stray, and thus I beg you, with a desire to obey in all things according to your will." The priest and the teacher, Anna, felt a great illumination and divine influence within themselves to attend particularly to the Holy Child, and to care for her with greater attention than for the other maidens. And as they shared a high opinion of her, without yet knowing the hidden mystery behind that sovereign impulse, they resolved to assist and guide her with special care. But since that care could only extend to visible and external matters, they could not measure the interior acts and affections of her heart, which were governed solely by the Most High with singular protection and grace. Thus that pure heart of the Princess of Heaven remained free to grow and advance in interior virtues, never wasting a single moment without doing what was most exalted and excellent in all things. The priest also assigned her occupations, and said to her, "My daughter, you shall assist at the divine praises and hymns of the Lord, with all reverence and devotion, and always offer prayer to the Most High for the needs of his holy temple and his people, and for the coming of the Messiah. At 8 in the evening you will retire to sleep, and at dawn you will rise to pray and bless the Lord until the 3rd hour, which is now 9 in the morning. From the 3rd hour until the afternoon, you will dedicate yourself to manual labor, that you may be instructed in all things. At your meal, which you shall take after your work, observe the moderation that is fitting. Then you will go to hear what your teacher will instruct you, and the remainder of the day you will spend in reading the Holy Scriptures. In all things be humble, gentle, and obedient to what your teacher commands." The Most Holy Child always listened to the priest on her knees, and when he had finished speaking, she asked for his blessing and his hand, and, after kissing both his and her teacher's hand, resolved in her heart to keep the rule of life they had given her for as long as she remained in the temple, unless she was commanded otherwise. And as she resolved it, so she fulfilled it, the one who was the very teacher of sanctity and virtue, acting as though she were the least of the disciples. Her affections and ardent love extended far beyond the exterior works assigned to her, but she submitted all to the minister of the Lord, placing the sacrifice of perfect and holy obedience above her own fervors and judgment. As the mistress of all perfection, she knew that the fulfillment of God's will is more securely found in humble submission to obedience than in the highest desires of other virtues. With this rare example, souls, especially those in religious life, should be taught not to follow their own little fervors and impulses when they are contrary to obedience and the will of superiors, for in the latter God reveals his pleasure and will, while in the former we seek only our own will. In superiors, God works but in ourselves. If it is contrary to them, temptation, blind passion, and deception are at work. In addition to what was assigned to her, our queen and lady distinguished herself by asking her teacher's permission to serve all the other maidens and to carry out the most humble tasks, such as sweeping and cleaning the house and washing the dishes. Though this was considered unusual, especially for firstborn daughters who were treated with greater authority and respect, the incomparable humility of the divine princess could not be restrained or limited by her majesty. Rather, she embraced all the lowest duties, performing them with such diligence that she would often complete tasks before anyone else even began. Though she knew all the mysteries and ceremonies of the temple through infused knowledge, she nevertheless learned them by discipline and experience as if she knew nothing, never once failing in any ceremony or action, no matter how small. She was most studious in her humility and abounding in reverent submission. And each morning and evening she would ask her teacher for a blessing and kiss her hand. The same she did whenever given a humble task or permission to perform one, and sometimes, when permitted, she would even kiss her teacher's feet with the deepest humility. The sovereign princess was so docile, so gentle and serene in her conduct, so diligent, submissive, and eager to humble herself, to serve and respect all the maidens living in the temple, that she won all their hearts, and obeyed each one of them as if each were her teacher. With the ineffable and heavenly prudence she possessed, she ordered her actions in such a way that she never missed an opportunity to be the first in every manual task, in the humblest works, and in serving her companions, always seeking to fulfill the divine will. But what shall I say, most wretched creature that I am, and what shall we all, the faithful children of the Catholic Church, say when faced with this living example of humility? We consider it a great virtue when an inferior obeys a superior, or when an equal submits to the command of another equal. But for an inferior to command and a superior to obey, for a queen to humble herself before a servant, for the most holy and perfect creature to obey a mere worm, the Lady of heaven and earth, to lower herself before an insignificant little woman, and for this to be done truly and from the heart, who could fail to be struck with awe and ashamed of their own pride? Who can look into this clear mirror and not see their own presumptuousness? Who can imagine they know true humility, let alone practice it, if they consider it only within their own small sphere, while Mary Most Holy lived it in its most perfect form? We who live under the vow of obedience must come to this light, to see and amend our faults when obedience to superiors, who represent God, seems burdensome to us because it goes against our whims. Let our hardness break here. Let the most arrogant be humbled and confounded in their shameful pride, and let the presumption of one who thinks herself obedient and humble, because she occasionally submits to her superiors, be shattered, if she has not come to see herself as beneath all others and equal to none, as did she who is greater than all. The beauty, grace, charm, and attractiveness of our queen were incomparable. Not only did she possess in the highest degree all natural gifts of body and soul, but these were further exalted by supernatural and divine grace, forming in her a marvelous combination of beauty and virtue in both her being and her actions, captivating the admiration and affection of all. Divine providence, however, moderated the outward manifestations of this admiration from those who interacted with her, as they be swept away by the fervor of their love for the queen. In her eating and sleeping habits, as in all other virtues, she was perfect. She followed a rule governed by temperance, never exceeding, and even curbing herself beyond what was strictly necessary. Though her brief sleep never hindered her sublime contemplation, as I have mentioned before, cf. Supra N. 353, she would have willingly foregone it altogether. Yet in obedience she retired at the appointed time to her humble and poor bed, which was like a flowered couch, Cant 115, of virtues, attended by the seraphim and angels who guarded and served her. There she received more exalted insights, though short of the beatific vision, and experienced a more fervent love than all the angels together. She managed and distributed her time with rare discretion, allotting to each of her actions and tasks the time they deserved. She read frequently in the ancient sacred scriptures, and with her infused knowledge, she had full grasp of all of them and their profound mysteries. None were hidden from her. The Most High revealed to her all his secrets and sacraments, which she discussed and conferred about with the holy angels who attended her, confirming her knowledge, and asking them many things with incomparable depth and insight. If this sovereign mistress had written down all that she understood, we would possess many more divine writings, and from those already held by the Church, we would draw a perfect understanding of their deepest meanings and mysteries. but she used the fullness of this knowledge solely for divine worship, praise, and love. She directed it all to this end, without allowing a single ray of light to go to waste or remain sterile. She was swift in reasoning, profound in understanding, lofty and noble in thought, most prudent in choosing and arranging, supremely effective and gentle in action, and in all things a perfect rule and a marvelous object of admiration for men, for angels, and in her own way, even for the Lord himself, who made her wholly according to his heart and delight. Doctrine of the Sovereign Lady. My daughter, human nature is imperfect and sluggish in practicing virtue, and fragile in its tendency to fail, for it leans heavily toward rest, and resists labor with all its strength. When the soul listens to and compromises with the inclinations of the lower nature, and gives it leeway, it takes such advantage that it gains the upper hand over reason and spirit, reducing them to a dangerous and base servitude. In all souls, this disorder of nature is abominable and fearsome, but without comparison, it is even more abhorred by God and his ministers and religious who, being more strictly obligated to be perfect, suffer greater harm when they do not emerge victorious in this battle against their passions. From this lukewarmness in resistance and frequent surrender comes discouragement and distorted judgment, leading some to satisfy themselves with performing a few very minor acts of virtue, and they come to believe that, though doing nothing of real value, they are moving mountains. The devil then introduces other distractions and temptations, and because they make little of the laws and common practices of religion, they begin to slacken in nearly all things. By judging each rule as a minor matter, they come to lose their sense of virtue and live in false security. But you, my daughter, I desire that you guard yourself against so dangerous a deception. Know this: one voluntary neglect of an imperfection prepares the way for another, and these open the door to venial sins, which then lead to mortal sins. One abyss leads to another, until the soul reaches the depths and ends in the contempt of all that is evil. To prevent this ruin, one must stop the flow from far off. A work or practice that may seem small is like an outer wall that holds the enemy at a distance. The precepts and laws of more serious obligations are like the strong wall of conscience. If the devil breaks through the first defense, he is that much closer to breaching the second. And if he opens a small gate even through a lesser sin, he has a clearer and easier path to attack the interior kingdom of the soul. And since the soul is weakened by its vicious acts and habits, and is without the strength of grace, it cannot resist strongly. The devil, having gained entrance, subjects and oppresses it, finding no resistance. Consider then, dearest one, how vigilant you must be amid so many dangers, and how great your obligation is not to fall asleep in their midst. See yourself as a religious, a spouse of Christ, a superior, one who has been taught, enlightened, and filled with extraordinary graces. By these and other titles, which you should reflect upon, measure your duty, for to each of them you owe a return and response to your Lord. Strive, therefore, to be exact in fulfilling all the ceremonies and rules of religious life. Let no law, no command, no perfect act seem small to you. Do not despise or forget any of them. Observe them all with great care, because in the eyes of God everything done for his sake is precious and great. Truly, he delights in seeing his commands fulfilled, and is offended when they are neglected. In all things, remember that you have a spouse to please, a God to serve, a father to obey, a judge to fear, and a mistress to imitate and follow. In order to fulfill all of this, you must renew within yourself a strong and effective resolution not to listen to your natural inclinations, nor give in to the sluggishness of your lower nature. Do not, because of any difficulty you may feel, omit any action or religious ceremony, even if it be as simple as kissing the ground when custom requires it. Whether great or small, carry out all things with love and perseverance, and you will be pleasing in the eyes of my Son and in mine. For works of supererogation, seek counsel from your confessor and superior. First, pray that God will grant them insight, and approach them free of any preconceived desire or inclination. Whatever they command, listen to it, write it in your heart, and carry it out promptly. If possible, always seek to obey and consult, never deciding anything on your own, even if it seems very good, because God's will is always revealed to you through holy obedience.